Today, we are speaking with a personal trainer and nutrition coach who works to help you to make fitness fit your lifestyle. She started lifting weights in 2005 as the start of a weight loss journey where she lost a third of her body weight in a year and went on to train harder than ever before entering a fitness model contest in 2011 where she fell in love with the look and the process, which inspired her to compete in her first show in 2012. She has since been competing consistently for 10 years and just won her pro card in 2022 at the IFBB Natural Pro Qualifier, which is super awesome. Welcome to the show, Gina Switzeny. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's such an honor. It's one of my goals to be on
so
this
cool.
podcast and meet you.
That makes me so happy. Whenever people tell me that, I'm always like, what? I feel like it's become like a household name in the bikini world, which is like so amazing to me and like just a testament to this community, honestly.
Yes, yeah. I'm just proud to kind of, have won my card and then be able to, share my journey with everyone out there who continues to struggle and push and trying to drive for that goal.
Absolutely. And before we get into that story, I gotta ask, do you have a ritual right before your heel hits the stage?
It's kind of a little mini ritual that I've developed over the years of kind of building up to that moment. So it's easy to kind of get like stuck in your head and kind of keeps yourself like I'm pretty introverted. So I set like alerts on my phone. So like a couple hours that lead up to it, my phone will send me a message like, you got this, remember to smile, this is your day, stuff like that, just to kind of like, be your own little cheerleader. So, and then when I kind of get out there and I'm looking out on the stage when you're waiting in the lineup, like I don't know if you ever seen the movie Ever After, where before she walks into, like it's based on Cinderella. So before Drew Barrymore walks into the main hall, she just says to herself, breathe, just breathe. So I kind of just quiet myself and then out I go.
Wow. When I was little, I used to listen to the Michelle Branch a lot. And she had a song called Breathe. She's like, breathe.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
I
about?
know.
That's cool. I'll have to watch Ever After. I'm writing it down. Sometimes people will say things and I'm like, I need to look that up later. So I definitely will. But I need to ask you, where did banana split squats come from?
Well, it originally started as like a food blog. So I kind of wanted to, what I did kind of stay on track with like my weight loss and maintaining my weight was I wanted to take like food that I love to eat and then how could I incorporate it in my diet? So it's kind of like nothing was off limit, but how do I make it for myself so that like I feel good eating it? So I
Wow.
originally had my whole website. All it was just my recipes. So I was like, well, I love desserts, so banana splits and split squats is my favorite exercise, or one of them now. So I merged the names together, and that's how you have it. So
That's awesome. Oh my God, I love banana splits. Don't love
so
split
good.
squats, but I love banana splits.
It's like one of those things you love to hate, right? Like it's an exercise that works so well, but when I see them on my program, I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Yes, yes. And when you're getting strong in them, you're like, this is awesome. And like my glutes are stretching and I feel it like is really good. But it's definitely like a love to hate, like you said. So you've been in the game for a long time. You started with the goal of weight loss, like I mentioned, and then you became a competitor. So can you describe what your life was like before you found a passion for this and how your lifestyle has evolved since then?
Yeah, so originally it was, I mean, I've always been kind of active, throughout, like childhood, university, etc. But, I never knew actually how to maintain my weight properly. And my they didn't talk about like nutrition as much, and I tried Weight Watchers and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, like, I signed up with a nutritionist at my gym, and she kind of taught me about like, proper eating and like, it was kind of like a macro thing. So I understood the importance of protein because I was like, oh, who cares if I just eat this little package of 100-calorie whatever, but then you're hungry all the time and you're not getting your micronutrients, things like that. So once I got that, the weight, like, I hate to say, but started like melting off, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, never in my world would I be able to believe that it would come off like this. So, you basically like start falling in love with the process. So because it was manageable for me. And I actually felt so much better eating like healthy food versus I had lots of migraines before. And I mean, I still had my IBS, but like I felt like a night and day. So I was like, well, how do I keep going with this? Right. So I was like, okay, well, I have more energy. So I want to go to the gym. Like, I want to tone my body back when you would say kind of toning back way back then. Um, and then I just kind of kept going. So I didn't really start being interested in competing or anything like that until, as you said, I went to, it was like it was an oxygen fitness model search. So I went to the competition, and it was in the same day that they had kind of like what we have provincials for with this like CPAs, such as our version of FBC. And all the girls were competing in the show and were competing in the model search. And I looked over there, I'm like, oh my God, I want to look like that.
Wow.
So, so I kind of did a little bit of research. What was this all about? Then it just serendipitously, when I was getting my personal training certification, one of the guest speakers, she had just competed in her first show. So I went up to her and I said, who was your coach? Like, do you have any advice? So she sent me her name, and I looked up a few different coaches, and then I just like, I'm going to do it. So I told my husband, I'm like, I just hired a coach and I'm going to compete in a bodybuilding show. And he's like, okay. But, he was very supportive. And then since then, it's just been a journey, a very long journey, but yeah, very exciting along the way.
Oh my gosh, there's so much I want to dig into from that journey too. Something that stood out to me was like you changed your nutrition that gave you more energy. You had tried various diets in the past to get weight off, and then you learned and understood macros and how to fuel your body, and then you use that energy to train. And what was interesting to me is you said you saw the girls on stage and you're like, I want to look like that. And the first thing I thought was, okay, so 2012 or 2013, that look was so different than
Oh
how
my God.
everyone looks now. So did your desire to continue to look the part grow with the evolution of the sport, or do you wish that it was still like that?
I actually do prefer the look now. It's a little denser, there's more muscle, because I put on muscle, I won't say like easily, but I look good a little bit more muscular. So I've got a lot of comments like, oh, maybe you should do, like back in the day before bikini became what it was like, oh, maybe you should do figure before they even had wellness. So I was like, no, I don't want to do figure. Like, that's not my body shape. Like, I don't want to, that's not for me. I always like the bikini look. So I'm actually happy of how it's evolved. And I actually think wellness was a nice addition so that it kept bikini a little bit closer to like where it is now. Like, I feel like if they hadn't added it, it would have probably kept just getting bigger and bigger. So I feel like that was a really like very smart and strategic move so that we could keep bikini still like ultra feminine. I love the look. I love the glutes. Like, Jen Dory is phenomenal, amazing. Like, I wish I could look like that kind of thing. So very happy with how it is. So then, that's, I just keep building from there and trying to look. And my favorite pro is always someone new coming on the scene, and it's exciting.
Do you have favorites?
I do. I mean, I love Jen Dory, and not just because she was my coach momentarily for a
Okay,
little
I was
bit
gonna ask
on
him,
my
like, is this
team.
a Canadian thing or?
But you know what? I saw her the day I was at the show when she became pro, and we were
Mm.
all backstage. And I looked over and I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna win. Like, she has to get her pro card. She was so much like night and day above everybody else that was there that day. So I remember the day she went pro. And then I actually didn't even remember about her for a long time until I was with Atlas, and then she was my coach. But I just love her look. I mean, I love Issa, I actually love Maureen. It's just, there's just so many to choose from.
Yeah.
It's just exciting every year to see who's up and coming and who the new ones are and new favorites. So, and their development too, because you can see them as they grow and change, and the posing changes are so much different. Within 1 year, I had 3 different posing styles depending on what shows I was doing. So
Wow.
it's been a lot of different things throughout the years, but I love where it is now.
You have to love this process, and you have to love this sport and the commitment, and you have to be willing to adapt so much too. And I think that comes from loving it. So what are the things that you like or look forward to most about this journey and this process?
I just find it actually really empowering. I feel like it's your body and you kind of create art with it. So every day you go into the gym, there's that little thing that you want to work on. So you put your effort into that and it pays off like over time, maybe not like obviously it's not your next check-in video, but check-in after check-in, you know, you keep your photos, I look back at them and like it's shocking, you know, where you came from the hair and the makeup to what your suit used to look like to again your posing. It's just so exciting to be able to have that opportunity to kind of grow yourself. And I've always embraced the struggle. So I'm not afraid of the days when it's hard and when you're hungry and when your body just hurts. It's like, you know, it's working. And that's my opportunity to get better. And I can push through it. And it helps you everywhere else in your life too, right? Like there's no instant gratification in bodybuilding. So you just keep that with you as you move through and do other things.
Absolutely. That's something I've grown to value about this sport is the patience it allows us to develop. It is one of those things in life where now with everything at our fingertips, easy to get, easy to give, it's nice to have something that takes a lot of time and work and effort and consistency and being willing to make changes and learn because we're always learning for sure. And you said it's influenced other areas of your life, which I do want to talk to you about. So what are some of the ways that lesson of letting go of instant gratification and embracing the suck, how has that helped you to in other areas?
I mean, I think it helps a lot in work. You know, there's a lot of bad days and you're tired and you're dealing with maybe people of different personalities. You know, I travel a lot for work, so there's always like the flight delays and the, you know, the pain in the butt through the airport and things like that. So it just, you know, you're always on your way to your destination, no matter what. So it just helps you kind of stay focused, just keeps you very disciplined. Like it takes a lot of organization to be able to even plan to do a show, right? Between like your suit and your posing and the registering and tanning and organizing your food, all that kind of stuff, planning your workouts. So that type of discipline, I think, helps you, you know, throughout your life and, you know, just how you kind of behave and hold yourself in respect. I think you can't help but not have it roll over into the rest of your life.
That's a big one, that self-respect piece, like respecting your goals, respecting your desires, respecting your body to nourish yourself, but also push yourself, push those limits and those boundaries that are often just created in our mind. And with this sport, with that type of commitment, we're going to have those ups and downs. And you said earlier, there have been a lot of them for you. So are there any major things that stand out to you along the way that ended up serving you as big lessons or as part of your journey?
I think, I mean, I've done over 30 shows and I've come in everywhere from first to last in a show. So I think you basically learn that you're going to fail sometimes. And you can have that day where you just are really upset about it, but then you just shake it off and get back to it. And what can I do to get better? And every day trying to get better. But you just can't let like your failures define you and you have to move on. And just like everything in life, like you're not going to get what you want all the time. No matter, even if you try your hardest, you can still, you know, be disappointed. So what do you do with that? And how do you use that to fuel the next days? So yeah, you may cry about it and be angry for a little bit and you go through the post-show blues, but you get back to the gym, get back to your food, and just move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's like this lifestyle makes us happy. It gives so much to us. It's fulfilling, it's empowering.
Mhm.
There could only be one first place at every show. So, you know, you're bound to lose in many regards if you consider not getting first a loss, although you stepped on stage, which is a big win. But you said specifically you got to be able to move on from failure. So, how have you personally done that? Like, what's kept you going show after show? Because 30 plus shows is extensive, and you just got your pro card this year. So, you had to have that, like, belief, I imagine, but also that there's something in you that kept you going.
Yeah, I feel like it's just the fire in you to do better. And it's almost like, okay, I'm not done yet. And wait till you see what I bring next time. And get the feedback from your judges, from like your coach, and then work towards that, because it's always, I could have always done better for posing. You know, maybe I could have come a little tighter, maybe my waist could have been a little bit smaller, whatever it is, glutes a little bit bigger, shoulders rounder. There's always gonna be something. So what you do with that is your choice. So I just, you know, like I said, even when like, I mean, it's soul crushing when you don't place where you want to and you've worked so hard. So you have the moment, and you know, you drown your sorrows in a little bit of cake. That's always my post-show treat. But you know, I get back to my routine the next day, and I'm actually thankful for my routine. It keeps it keeps me balanced. You know, I always do cardio the next morning before I go out for a breakfast and celebrate with my husband. Of, you know, at least, like you said, you've done the show, so that's like a reward in and of itself. And it's just, then you start looking at the photos and, oh, I love that photo, and look at how good I was for this compared to your last show. And you just keep growing. So I'm not done, and I won't be for, I think, a long time. And I think that's just part of the game. So even as a pro, I'm expecting my pro debut, like, you know, I'll probably be at the bottom again. And I just got to keep going and work my way up and get excited about the opportunity to kind of like step on that stage again and be better than I was the last time.
Love that point. Being excited about the opportunity, like the opportunity to get better, the opportunity to do this, the opportunity to show up for yourself. Like, this is a blessing that we have to be able to do this sport and to learn along the way. And yeah, sometimes, you know, we gotta just sit and cry about it. And it's good to feel those things, because I think it contributes to that champion mentality. It helps us to see this is really worth it. I respect this process. I want to be better. Like, I know I can do better. And we sign up for this, right? So when we're getting the critique or the feedback, it's like, okay, I want to be better. My routine that I have allows me to get better. So if I can embrace that and enjoy it, then that will bring me fulfillment. And I love what you said about structure and how much that brings to your life. And sometimes people get into this sport to establish structure, and some people already have structure before they get into this sport. So is there anything you wish you would have known maybe about competing before you started that you think would have impacted your journey in a more positive way?
I don't know if there's anything that I wish I had known. I mean, it's hard in the beginning because, you know, you don't understand the sport, and you don't understand that the commitment, and that it's like kind of all encompassing, and that it's year round. So I think that's a big thing that some people don't understand, that it's like it's a 24-hour basically commitment, because you know, you plan your nutrition, you plan your training. I think a lot of it is that you have to understand that not everybody will be supportive of your journey, and that's okay. They don't have to understand what you're going through, and it's fine. Like, you just do your best to kind of explain, you know, why you do it. But unless they're doing it themselves, or, you know, are very much entrenched in the industry, like, they won't understand, and they don't understand your why. But as long as you have it for yourself, then that's okay. Because I didn't, when I was first competing, there was a lot of sabotage from people, and they weren't doing it probably on purpose. I think some of them were, but like, people just thought like, oh, this is unhealthy, and you're looking so skinny and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't prepared for that. Like, I thought like, oh, well, people would be like excited for me, but not everybody is. And it's hard to explain like why you're going to pay to get up on stage for someone to judge you in a bikini. So most people, yeah, I mean, and like I said, I'm an introvert. So for like, I don't like even going on like the beach in my bathing suit, but I'm going to step on stage with a spray tan on, and, you know, a head full of extensions and fake lashes, and pay someone to give me feedback on how I look as I do poses for them. It sounds very strange. So I get why a lot of people don't. When I started, I didn't realize that some people would be almost against it. So, but as they see you continue with it, then it turns to like an inspiration. I think people, you don't know who's watching and who's actually cheering on for you, like in the background. Like when I got my pro card, I was blown away by how many people messaged me saying that they've been following me for so long, and they reposted and said, like, other even people I competed with that had since decided to stop competing, they said, like, you know, congratulations to this girl, she's still doing it. And you know, it was just overwhelming, like the amount of support that you get. And you don't, as much as there's people who speak up and, you know, don't support you, there's so many other people who are quietly in your corner and you don't even know it.
So true. I think we tend to focus maybe on what we don't have or what we don't hear versus what we do. And we don't necessarily need that, but it is nice when we get that recognition or that validation. Like, I love when I receive a message of support or when I meet somebody, and whether it's the podcast or it's for show support, like it goes so far. It means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you were talking about like how some people will just not support it, you know, they see the surface level, they see the spray tan, the lashes, the makeup, the suit, the posing on stage in front of a panel of judges who maybe are predominantly male as well. And they think, well, what are you doing? You know, like, why would you want to do that? So they see the surface level, but then, you know, if they stay invested in your journey, they can see the love you have for the process, and they can see what that process looks like that day in and day out, that waking up with a dream and an aim in your life and pursuing it every day. And people want that. That's what people like. That's how we get fulfillment as humans, is to strive for something. So when you're like a beacon to them of someone who's actually striving for something for a decade plus, like, it says something to them where it's no longer about the surface level. They can respect that. That's only one day, but she's killing it every day, regardless of show day or show experiences. She's still showing up for herself.
Yeah, it's just such a interesting dynamic. And I think everyone's journey is special and different for themselves. But I mean, I don't want to say that, yeah, there's something I wish I knew, but there's so much to be learned along the process about yourself, about others, about just the sport as it evolves. And it's just a never ending journey that, you know, I fell in love with, and good or for bad, it's my thing.
Yes. And you had mentioned like this is one of those sports you got to be on 24 hours, and you played sports before this. So what were the sports you did growing up, and how do you think that influenced your maybe commitment or outlook on this sport?
Mostly it was just like the general sports like soccer, volleyball, basketball. Like I played all those like in high school. It was more like just like a team thing, like your friends were doing it, so you would do it. And I mean, I like to be very active, but never was I in the gym. Like I didn't even know what weightlifting was basically until probably like when I was in grade 11 or something like that. So I didn't know. I mean, I knew what Arnold was, but I actually didn't even know like, oh yeah, you go to a gym and you lift weights to look like that. Like I just never even thought of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's very different than that. Those are like team sports. So I had never been in something that was so solitary. Like bodybuilding is a very solitary sport. I mean, as much as you're on a team and you have, you make friends and things like that, but it's day in, you're by yourself. So that was just very different compared to anything else that I had ever done, which, you know, for my personality, like it's actually works really well that I'm in charge of my own results and I can take accountability for that. And, you know, I don't have to like worry about others and what happens that day. Like it's on me to do my thing, and, you know, win or lose, that's me.
That speaks to me. Like, I remember when I got pretty much burnt out on volleyball, and I was really committing to the gym already by then. And then when I was like, I'm going to pursue competing, I was like, this is a sport I know I'm not going to look back and be like, the plays, like every play is on me in this sport, basically. Whereas in volleyball, like you could have people who don't care on your team to win. And I'm very competitive. So if they were showing up not ready to win, not ready to play to win, it would like irk me. So with this sport, it's like, oh, I'm the one in control. Like I get to decide how this game goes, essentially, where at the end of every day, I'm like, did I show up the way I wanted to? Yes. Versus like when you're a leader on a team or you are on a team, you're asking, how did the team show up? What does the team need to improve? What's my role in this team? So it's nice, I think, to have that type of solitary focus. And you had brought up your husband earlier, and when you told him that you're going to do a bodybuilding competition. Now, you guys have been together for, I think I read 19 years. Was he
married for 19?
Married for 19.
Married
So
for 19.
how long were you together before that?
Well, we met in high school. So yeah, we were
Cool.
together for a couple of years before that. And then yeah, we married young. But he's
What's
not
young?
like,
when did you get married?
20.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, so we've been together for more than half our lives. So we've been together for more than we've been apart. So we're on like, it's been his journey too. Like, you know, I win it for him. Like I won my prize to him. I'm like, this is for you too. Like he's been to every single one of my shows except for like when I did North Americans. Those are the only shows he ever missed. So he's been there since the beginning. He used to help me with my spray tan back when I did it myself. And yeah, so it's been his journey too. And he's not into fitness. Like he does now, like we have like a home gym. And so he does that, and he, you know, tries to eat properly, but more for like a health thing. So bodybuilding, it's definitely not like he would never compete or anything like that. So this is totally different. Like it's not like he liked it and then so I started, you know, doing it too. So it's definitely not in his wheelhouse.
So how important is his support to you then? And how does how he supports you influence the way that you approach your goals?
I mean, he's my best friend. So his support means everything to me. And he realized how important it is. In the beginning, he didn't understand like what it was all about. And, you know, he had to grow with me too, right? Like when I can't eat out, he can't eat out either. So he has to sacrifice a lot as well. And at first, I didn't understand that part. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the beginning, you can be very selfish and you're like, well, I'm doing this. And, you know, what do you mean? It's not affecting you. You're not the one who's like not eating, like you can eat whatever you want, but it's not true. You have to understand that the other person, if they're your partner, kind of goes through it with you too. And if you're tired and angry or cranky or whatever it is, it like they can feel it and they can look over at you and see like you're hurting, you're tired and you're upset. So it's been his journey as well. So I could not have done it without him. I mean, the amount of meal prep he's done for me and helping me tie my suit, and he used to help me with my extensions and like all those little things, right? So it's just, it takes a small village to kind of get there. And, you know, he was always like the person in my corner who would always help me out and, you know, just be there, give you a hug if you need it. So I could not have done it without him. And yeah, he means everything.
It's a major change that you went through from who you were in high school to who you were as a young adult to who you've become as this woman now turned IFBB Pro and fitness coach. And so he's evolved with you and supported these different versions of you. And that takes a commitment on both parties, of course, but it seems like there's been a mutual respect and understanding. And it's definitely like, I feel like it's an adjustment when someone isn't into bodybuilding and then they suddenly get into it and now their partner has to be like, well, what does this look like for our relationship? Because that changes. So were there any like other noticeable things between you guys that had to change or evolve to support you in being successful?
I don't know if there's things that had to change. I think it was just us kind of adapting to the situation. Like I learned to go to a restaurant and eat out kind of thing, right? So it was like, I know our life can't stop because I'm still competing and it's 10 years later. And, you know, we need to be able to kind of do social gatherings and things like that. And I think when he saw like that I could make all that work, then he was like, okay, cool. Like this works for us. And it's not like I'm ever off kind of thing. Like we call it off season, but it's just a slightly different change in pace, right? So once we kind of got through like all the hiccups of like, what does that look like for us? Like, what does that look like for, day-to-day living and stuff like that? Like I said, he likes to eat healthy. So the whole like eating clean and stuff like that at home, that was totally not a problem for him. It wasn't a big deal. It was more like any of the social gatherings. So I think it was a big part for me to learn how to navigate that and how to learn also not to complain. So it's easy to complain about like, I feel tired, I feel this. And, that's what you have your friends for in competing. So I got a lot of friends from competing. My best friends I met from the sport. So that helps. So it's kind of like those are your people who are your sounding boards that you can like, they can relate to you. And when your calories are cut, you tell them and all that kind of stuff when you're grinding through your cardio. But, I learned to kind of like stop unloading on him. So I think that was a big change as well. But he's also gotten more serious about like wanting to like lift weights and things like that. So I think positively it actually affected him, and that he's like now motivated to kind of like lift weights, look a little like put some muscle on, feel better about himself. So I think that also helped in that regard too. So we kind of both took the positives out of it and just kind of grew together and figured out a way that would work for like our lives and our lifestyle.
Absolutely. So you have friends who you can go to and communicate the competing struggles with, who get it and they understand that you love this, you're choosing this, but it's okay to vent sometimes, versus putting it on him where he's going to have a very deep concern for you, especially because he doesn't compete. So it's not like he gets it to that level that I like this, it's just hard. And you're teaching him probably how you feel about the sport, how you think about it, and how we communicate with people. They're going to be worried, if we're always complaining, and they're going to think that this isn't good for us if we're always complaining. So it sounds like you learned like what to share and what to not share, or how to share certain things. And then he's become supportive and he's more motivated now in this lifestyle because of you. And I was thinking when you said that, I was like, with this sport, there's a physique change, like your body goes through changes. So he's seen you in these different shapes and sizes and commitment levels. Did that ever get to you mentally, like the body image side of things?
Not in how he sees me, but I'm very hard on myself. Especially like when you're going into, your improvement season, as the weight starts coming on, he more actually likes when I have more extra weight, but
Yeah.
I don't like it. So for me, it takes more for me kind of getting used to it. And I mean, I think it's just because like you love the other person and you always think that they're amazing and beautiful. And, I think we would both have been shocked had we 10 years ago showed pictures of what I would look like today. And maybe back then, maybe we would have been like, oh my God, like, that's too much muscle. But, as what your opinion changes and as you grow and development, and it's me and something I worked hard for, he's definitely not complaining when we're on the beach and I'm walking in my bikini and, your glutes are nice and high and perky and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely such a weird transition. And I mean, it does happen slowly over time. So at least it's not like shocking, but yeah, it's just very, very interesting in what we put on ourselves and what we think of like our own image and what other people think of your own image. Like, I remember back in the day looking at a shape magazine and like, oh, that's what I want to look like. And now I look at the shape magazine, I'm like, oh no, I want to look like what it looks like, in like muscle and fitness. Like that's actually what I want to look like. It's just your opinions change over time.
Yeah, and I think that comes with like the commitment to the process. You start to see like, oh, this version of me, like this commitment level is drawn out as I commit to something more, demand more for myself. So when you see someone with more muscle, you also see, because you understand it, you see that process, you see that discipline, you see that consistency. So you're not only admiring their shape and the way that they look, but it's like what went into that. And you want to almost embody that side of things too. So yeah, it does evolve, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Your opinion totally changes over time. So, and I think it will continue to change. And, maybe eventually, like when I retire, I'll want to look different, and that's okay. I think,
Yeah.
we can love different parts of ourselves throughout our lives.
Yes. There's a lot of competitors who actually I have some friends in the sport who have stopped and they're like, I wanted to lose muscle after I stopped competing because I didn't want to have that anymore. And I didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore of like 5, 6 days in the gym, pushing heavy, like training hard, like they wanted to drop it. And you see that with men a lot too, who
Hmm.
are world-class bodybuilders and they're like, well, I don't need to maintain that anymore. There's no real purpose for it. Like I'm going to come down in weight. So it does evolve. It's kind of a testament to this ability we have to morph our physiques as well. But with such a transformation that you had from the beginning to now, did you ever struggle? Because I hear this a lot that people struggle to let go of like the overweight version of themselves. So did you ever struggle to see yourself as IFBB Bikini Pro and I know it's different in Canada, but as a provincial competitor, that you are now versus like that old image of you? Like, did you ever get stuck thinking you always were that girl who started, if that makes sense?
Kind of like almost like body dysmorphia kind of
Yeah, like
idea.
did you ever feel like, oh, I'm still like and actually have never seen your very first before picture, but like I don't know if you were like super overweight, but did you ever have that thought of like I'm always gonna be that girl?
No, I actually have like it's more actually I have kind of what more I'm struggling with like my first show, like because I was overweight and then I lost a whole bunch of weight. And then I decided to like lose even more to kind of compete. And my very first show, I actually didn't have very much muscle because my first coach basically just crash dieted me and I just dieted down to like less than 100 pounds. So I looked like this like drowned rat basically. Like I
Mhm.
was so skinny, and I still have pictures of it. I laugh every once in a while when I see them pop up on my memories. So it's kind of like, to me, I always still look small. So because I mean I am petite in stature, but like people are like, oh no, like look at how muscly you are, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't see it. Like I always like see myself as being like little. Um, Even though like I know I do have like for my size a lot of muscle, but yeah, you kind of get stuck in that mindset of being like small and little, and you get like FOMO if you look at some of the other girls and they're like with their like beautiful like full legs and juicy bums, and I was just like, oh, I wish I could look like that. But I stay lean too in the off season, so I never actually look like that. So it's one of those hard to wrap your minds around. Like you want this, but you don't want that, and it's
Mhm.
yeah, body image can be tricky.
When I was getting my degree in psychology, I had written this paper on the struggles of aesthetic based sports and athletes within them. And something that stood out to me was like the idea of muscle dysphoria, predominantly studied among males, which of course, because it's like that notion women aren't going to be wanting it as bad, but we have it too, like we want to be bigger, especially when you get in front of the judges and your natural competitors too. I mean, even non-natural competitors, but like anyone in this sport, you want to grow, you want to be better. And when you get in front of the judges year after year after you're pushing yourself hard, you're trying to grow, and they're like, you're too small, or you need to add more size here, or density here. Of course the association is always going to be like, I'm not big enough, I'm not muscular enough, but to general population, you're freaking jacked, like I mean, there's times when my sister's like, Celeste, you look jacked. I'm like, I'm so small here. Like, I don't even have enough muscle yet. Like, this is not but it's just our perspective because we're so entrenched in this sport. And you did mention that you like to stay leaner in your improvement seasons. And one of my friends was telling me how she's not sure how much she really wants to grow in this sport as a pro, because she doesn't want to go through an improvement season where she maybe has to put on a bit more size. She's not sure if she would be comfortable with that. So I was wondering, like, what have you done since you have been in this game for a long time? You have made those improvements. What have you done to consistently improve without necessarily sacrificing maybe comfort or getting too high of highs and too low of lows with your body?
I think just, to me, I always think of food as like fuel. Like it is comfort and it's yummy and it's tasting, but I always think of like I want to use it to fuel what I'm about to do in the gym. So I'm very like fussy about my cheat meals, about what days they are. Like I know which ones make me feel better, which one will give me like crazy energy in the gym. And then I plan my workouts like even around that. So like I don't want to necessarily be putting on weight for the sake of like putting on weight. Like yes, I know I have to get to a higher body fat percentage because like you feel gross when you're like stage lean and everything hurts and like you're just, yeah, it's just not nice. So you need to put on some size. But for me, that's kind of like I feel good once I put on about like 5 pounds, but like I say 5 to 8 pounds like above stage weight in my off season, just because like that's for me, I can still get bigger numbers in the gym. I mean, put on maybe like a little bit, like the scale goes up just like a little bit, but I know that I can keep pushing the weight. So like I like to do the big lifts and I like to like lift really, really heavy, and I track my numbers. And if they're not going up, then I'm like, okay, well then you probably need to eat a little bit more kind of thing. So even if James gives me like he gave me a lot more calories when I came out of the show, and I'm like, I don't need all that food. How about let's pull back just a little bit? I will eat that. And if my weight's going up and my numbers are going up, I'm happy with that. Like I'm good with that. Like, so he kind of like, he lets me kind of do it in my own way. So I don't make myself crazy. Cause for me, it's just because I think I was overweight in high school and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to get back to that. And with previous coaches, they let me get probably about 15 pounds to 20 pounds above stage weight. And then to burn all that back off, I was doing 2.5 hours of cardio a day. I was on like, 1,000 calories. And I'm like, I will never do that again. I'm like, I can't, I don't want to. I probably would quit then if I did that. So this is for me how I can make it with my lifestyle. Like if I'm feeling good in the gym and I feel like I got energy for my life, then I don't necessarily see for myself the need to kind of eat more. And I like the way I look and I want to like the way I look. Like that's part of the thing is I do it for the sport, but I want to walk around and say like, hey, I'm happy with what I've got going on here.
I really like this perspective because it's like that balancing act between like pushing the food up and keeping the body fat down. And sometimes it's hard. Like I'm personally like 7 weeks post show at the time of us recording this. So when people hear this, it'll be much further. But it's like you put on the weight that's like healthy, right? But you're also trying to bring up your food enough to sustain energy and performance and everything. And it sounds like you like to lift heavy and you're using that food to fuel your lifts. What changes in your training and nutrition between prep and improvement season, if anything?
Actually not a whole lot. So I mean, obviously like especially in the last probably like 3 years, I don't do as much cardio as I used to. Like I used to have to do 2.5 hours. Now I do like 30 to 45 minutes. So it's like I go for like a nice run basically in the morning. I like that's my version of journaling in the morning is I go for a run outside.
Wow, every morning?
Every morning. Yeah. I do it 7 days a week, but for me that's like for that's my good mental health kind of thing. Like I just get out there and I kind of like get into nature, see the sun, get some natural light in my eyes and just kind of like process the day for myself. And then I train, like obviously I can train a lot heavier in my improvement season, but especially the last 4 weeks before the show, like my numbers go way down. Like as my body fat gets like low, you just like I just can't anymore. Like I said, everything hurts and you're tired. Like you're just kind of like just the body pain of itself is like you want to do it and you're like, I know I can do more, but you're like, no, you can't do more. So you just take some weights off and just rep it out basically. So mostly it's the last 4 weeks that I find like really challenging. And then if the shows are close together, then you kind of just stay that way. So
Yeah.
that's when it becomes like hard because you don't want the numbers to get even smaller and drop from there. But I was lucky enough, like before my last show, I actually got even a cheat meal like the week before. So because I had done a show earlier that year and I was like, I just kept my stage weight and I just needed that to kind of keep through. Otherwise, my weight would just all of a sudden plummet, especially since I'm very active in my job. I move around a lot. So um, I was thankful because for me, it's mental too. Like it's the cheat meal, like that's one of the first things when I joined James. I'm like, can I stay lean in my off season and will you give me cheat meals? If you say yes to those two questions, I will join your team because I'd been doing it long enough that I knew how to like moderate myself. Like I wasn't going to go on a crazy binge like I did when I first started competing, where you're like, oh, a cheat meal, that means I stand in my closet in my pantry and I just shove stuff in my face. Like it's a meal and you eat it and you know it and you like it and stuff like that. And then you just move on. So off season and, obviously you can do much more volume, your training is like more intense, things like that. And then when you're competing, yeah, the numbers start to drift down and then usually I'll lose my cheat meals, maybe a little bit of food, but usually it's enough to just pull back my cheat meals and then I'll lose weight. And then in my head, I do little things like I might go for a little circle around the block extra in my cardio. You know what I mean? Like I make sure that I keep my activity really high so that I'm not like even step counts and stuff like that. So that I'm not like, because you get lazier, right? When your calories go down, like your body just naturally does it. Like you'll notice you're leaning against a wall and you like to sit down more. So I'm very conscious of stuff like that to make sure that I'm not changing anything else besides what James has removed or added kind of to my program.
Yes, that's why staying mindful, tracking data, and being present with your body is so important because then you'll notice those cues, you'll notice those changes, and that's just more information for you and your coach, and it's insight. So then there's less judgment if things do change in your body. You're able to say, oh, well, it's probably because I was maybe more lazy this week because I was so exhausted, or oh, the weight's going down because I like didn't have the usual amount of carbs before my workout. I do like that's weight as in what you're pushing in the gym, but you know what I mean, like just by paying attention. And I think a big problem is a lot of people go on autopilot mode, so they're not paying attention, which we can get into that. But I did want to touch back on something you said, which was you had noticed that if you didn't have like a productive improvement season, which for you, it seems to be defined as staying within a close range of your stage weight or what you're aiming for, leanness, then you would have more difficult preps. And I think that that's the idea a lot of people want to commit to, but it's difficult because they're also, the reverse. It's like you're hungry, you're tired, you're still prepping basically, just, it's different now. But what are some things you do on a day-to-day basis to support you in keeping that focus, that this difficulty, let's say, in getting to maintenance and staying here is worth it to avoid the pain of potentially having to work off, let's say 20-30 pounds?
I think it's just kind of setting up good habits for yourself. You develop over time, I think, a better relationship. Like it's funny, people think bodybuilding, you develop a poor relationship with food, but for me, I've developed a better relationship with food because I don't treat it like a reward or a comfort. I understand the fact that just because you're hungry doesn't mean you need to eat. Maybe you just need to get out of your house. So, I mean, I like to be active and I do like little things, like I go for a walk with my husband after dinner every night. Like we just kind of get up and move around. Like I feel like just for digestion, it's good, just for like spending some quality time together. And then, yeah, you get a few extra little steps in. So it's not like it has to be like time in the gym or time, running on a treadmill. Like you can kind of be active and do stuff like that. I do like to plan out my cheat meals. So I know that it's something that I'll properly enjoy. Like it's like a date night with my husband. you know, whatever we decide to do, like I've picked a place that I want to go and eat. I think it's too easy to kind of just be like, oh, what's my off season? And someone brought, you know, donuts to work. And I'm sitting there like, well, if I wanted a donut, am I going to eat that donut? Or am I going to go out and go get the best donuts in my city and know that like actually like it was worth it? So I always try and reframe things kind of like, you know, if you want to like cheat or treat yourself, whatever. I know it's sometimes people say don't call it a cheat meal because it's, you know, saying good and bad food. But if you want to, you know, go have something that's maybe not on plan, make it worth it. Like have a good one. Like do like, and then by then you probably the moment's probably passed anyways. So always have your food with you is another thing, especially like when I'm traveling. And I mean, I'm in an airport. There's not very many good health food options. Or you're on the plane and someone is like eating pretzels next to you or whatever it is, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could have that. But you know, I open my little baggie of rice and I have my food and it's fine. You know, you kind of learn to kind of not think of food as something that gives you pleasure. Like it doesn't, that's not what should bring you pleasure in your life. I like my food and I always enjoy certain meals of the day. Like I look forward to my breakfast every single morning. So I'm excited after my cardio. It's like an oatmeal pancake. So I make
Yes.
with oats and, you know, my egg whites, and I put a couple blueberries in there, and it's like, you know what, every morning, like I am excited to eat that, sit down and eat that with a big cup of coffee kind of thing. Like I like it. So I think if you kind of make sure that you have meals that's on your plan that you enjoy every day, then you don't feel the need to run out and binge. But if you want to go out with your friends and you're a very social person, like it's certainly doable. I mean, you can go to restaurants, basically any restaurant will like make you like baked chicken. I mean, grilled chicken. You just have to like order things, right? Like order things so that it's not, you know, people might look at you like, oh, how come you're not eating the wings? Or how come you don't want the pizza? And it's like, oh no, I'm fine with my salad kind of thing. Like it's fine. You don't have to kind of like make it the be all and end all. And you can't use it as an excuse not to see people. You just kind of learn to make do.
Yeah, and you have to have your own expectations and standards that are going to help with your longevity in this sport. So like you may not be at the level where you want to just order salad when you go out, but you're making efforts towards that. And it's like those consistent baby steps, those consistent habits add up where you will have more gratitude for your food. You will have more appreciation for what's on your plan. But that doesn't happen if you're like always complaining about it or, oh, it's the same thing, or you don't enjoy any of the meals. So those are some really good tips. I really like the make sure you enjoy your meals, because you can even enjoy something mentally. Like you could say, wow, I'm really happy and grateful that I get to nourish my body with this chicken and rice meal because it's helping me to build the muscle I've been working hard for. It's giving me energy to sustain the rest of my workday, or it's going to help me to be present with my family. Like taking the time to acknowledge the food we're eating and how it helps us can contribute to us being, you know, committed to this lifestyle, I think. And you've talked in the past about how you like to prioritize little wins day in and day out and focus on improving every single day. So what does that look like for you personally? And then how do you support yourself in actually improving every day?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not like every single day I do something like a little extra, but I think it's like I go on the run or I go for my run in the morning. And especially when I'm traveling, like if I don't stop and take a photo or in my mind mentally look at something and say that's photo worthy, that like that's my little thing I do in the morning. So I kind of like I run and I try to like appreciate where I am. And I have some of the funniest memories of running outside in the snow when it's like literally minus 25 when I was running in Calgary, and just craziness that I had to endure during COVID too, right? So I think it's kind of like, to me, your perspective is a big win. And then, or doing other little things, like maybe you better yourself by reaching out to a friend that day that you haven't heard from in a while, or you take that extra moment and do one extra vacuum that day, or you stretch a little bit more, or spend more time with your family, or just do something. I think like a little thing. Like it doesn't have to be this I did extra posing or I did an extra rep. It doesn't have to be like fitness related. I think it can just be, help make your day better or help make someone else's day better. Just like little wins, I think, add up over time. And then all that kind of stuff brings you energy, and then you can use that to fuel your big wins, right? It's just
Yes.
I think it's the small things. Like if you like coffee like I do, like enjoy your first sip. Like that's the best thing in the morning, and take a moment. It's easy to be in a rush and not pay attention and just kind of go, like you said, on autopilot. You can just kind of coast through things and let yourself just float through life. But I think it's actually harder to kind of be mindful and be present and try to just like notice who's around you, what's around you, make their lives better.
Yeah, it is harder to be present. I think we're always focused on what's next, and our attention's constantly being stolen from these different things and places and people and what we got to do. But when we're in the moment, technically the moment's what makes up our life. Yet we're always like distracted, we're not
Mm-hmm.
really in it. So I love that insight of just like, I really liked your like photo up, because that would make you like recognize something really beautiful or amazing, or something you maybe wouldn't pay attention to if you were just trying to like get through the run or get through the meal or get through something, like rather than having the I got to get through it mentality. It's like, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to embrace this. Like if I'm going to be sitting down to eat, I'm going to enjoy my food. If I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to execute every rep. It's like you're already investing your time. You might as well invest your full energy and presence too. And that's not always easy, but if
Yeah.
you have that intention, it goes a long way.
Yeah. And I mean, some days are better than others. And yeah, some days I go through my run and I'm not, I get back to my run. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that was it. But you just try most days to try to do better. And I think
Yes.
that's all anyone can ask for.
And you have improved, obviously, because you've gotten the result that you were after. So what are you trying to accomplish in the IFBB now?
I'm really excited to debut. I'm just excited to be on the pro stage.
Yeah.
I've started learning my like pro routine, and I've got to say,
Oh.
I was never good at posing, but 15 seconds is a lot easier than trying to do a whole minute pro routine. It's like,
Really?
yeah, I was actually surprised at like how much more like, so now I feel have how much even higher respect for the pros who are out there and like really just beautiful, posers. So that's, been a really cool, like exciting lesson for me. So I'm just like really looking forward to debuting probably in May next year. And then I'll do like I hope to do like 2 or 3 shows and just kind of go from there. But I'm going to mostly stick to, I think, master shows just because I think that's, obviously I'm a master. So I think it would be better to kind of go within my own food group and work from there. So, but yeah, I'm excited to start. It's funny. I'm excited to start at the bottom, work my way up again. Because the
I
last
love
couple of
that.
years being in Canada, like I was like first in my class for so long, not winning my pro card that you didn't get to better and eking your way up through the placings. And so now I'm kind of like, I'm going to start, even if it's at the bottom, and just keep going.
That's really cool. I love that mentality. And when you had started competing, I think you had mentioned at one point you had to have like this alter ego when you were posing. So what influenced the confidence you have on stage now, or what influenced like the way you're developing your pro routine so it doesn't feel like an alter ego, but maybe it feels more like you?
I'd have to say, just feeling a little bit more like relaxed. Like you said, alter ego. Like when I first started competing, I actually thought of it as an alter ego, which I think is kind of a mistake. I think you
Mm,
have to be you on stage because that's the only person you can be, right? Like, and I mean, fine, you can be an actor, but I think it doesn't come off as genuine, to the judges and things like that. And you have to, like, there's a way to pose and feel like yourself. So I've been working really closely with my posing coach, Victoria Schmidt, and she's really helped me feel comfortable with my posing. Sometimes I can be like a little stiff, especially in my arms. So she kind of just gave me just ways to kind of relax a little bit more. I tend to overthink things. So she's like, just, she helps me break it down and like when she's giving me feedback, it's just more of like, I feel like it's a nice reminder kind of thing, like, just the twist here, do this, etc. And then she wants to kind of create it with me. So if I see something that I like that someone else does, how do I like do it that will look good on me? So I think
Yeah.
it's a nice collaboration that I can still feel like it's myself, and it's fun. I can have more fun with like my hair and do like different back poses and stuff like that. So um, just working on a few little things here and there to just feel like, it's me but sassier kind of thing. So
Right. Little bit of spice in there.
yeah.
And this goes back to your earlier point about bodybuilding being an art. And it's really cool that we get to like build our bodies and then find the best way to portray that, like our best angle, our best position, our best move, our best transition. Like it's really fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's all about like putting your best self forward and then kind of creating like this mysterious like illusion kind of around the rest of the parts, right? And even if it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't like that part kind of thing, but like, your coach could and judges could see something totally different, right? So that's why it's good to have someone to kind of look at it and tell you that this looks best on you and things like that, because you may think it looks good, but they'll be like, no, not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have gotten into coaching. So what inspired you to start that?
At first, it just started. I got my personal training certification just as kind of like a knowledge thing, because I was doing all my own programming. So I just wanted to know how to like properly do it, and proper exercise execution, how to write a proper program, all that good stuff. But the more I kind of talked to people and people would ask me questions about, oh, like, what do you do? What does your program look like? Oh, can you show me how to do this? I really liked it. Like I loved helping people. And especially like when they would come up to me afterwards, like, oh yeah, look, like I'm improving in this. And like, it got me excited. So like, I was excited for them. So it was just a nice way to kind of like give back. Um, so since then I've like really tried to work on kind of breaking down the barriers of like entry. I think too many people think of it as like, well, either I got to be all in or not at all. And I don't think fitness is like that. Like we already talked about like your little habits and mini wins of the day. And I think that's a lot of like what goes into it. And I think people put too much into, well, if I'm going to get a gym membership, I have to go 3 days or 5 days every week. And I can't miss a day. And then they'll just fall off the right wagon. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like you just have to find a way to fit it into your lifestyle and find what you like. Like if you don't like going to the gym lifting weights, then don't go into the gym lift weights. Do something else. Like if you want to run. If you want to row. You like CrossFit, go ahead. Like find something that you like. So that's why I started a subscription program during COVID, because everyone was stuck at home and nobody knew what to do. And I was like, well, there's lots of things that you can do at home with body weight, or with just, very limited things. Like I was in a condo working out, and I was like, if I can build a competition body in my condo with like just a few dumbbells and like a small barbell, most people can, exercise enough to be healthy, to be like with what they've got. So I started writing programs that was more like built towards like the home body. Someone could do it at home, but certainly if you went to the gym, you have more options. So I started adding way more things to what I was offering just to help people. And even like virtual classes, not everybody wants to go into a gym, or like, their time slots are awkward, and when they can train is different. So just being able to kind of give people other alternatives to be able to still like be happy, be healthy. When you get older, like you've got to pick at your grandchildren. You want to be able to carry your own groceries. I think of my parents, and as they age, I want to make sure like everybody else ages healthy and that they're able to kind of like live their best lives.
Love that. That's such a great mission. So, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have?
No, I think you were really thorough. I really enjoyed our conversation. I mean, now that I relive it, like it's been a journey. Like I always forget when I looked back at all the posing changes and, just even how bikini itself has evolved. And it's been a long time, but it was definitely fun to kind of walk down memory lane with you.
Oh yeah, you too. You've been through so many shows, so many experiences. You're such like a great source of information just from that alone. So it's always nice to hear the perspective of someone who stayed committed to the journey over all of these years and kept that love for the process too, because I think sometimes people will listen and maybe they feel like I've been in this for so long. I don't know if I could keep going. Like this is a lot, but then they hear someone like your story and they're like, wow, okay, like it's worth it. I'm going to do this anyways. It'll pay off. So I appreciate you sharing that experience. And I got to ask you now what your best advice is for someone who's never competed before but wants to. And then your best advice for someone on their road to pro.
So if you've never competed, do not buy clothes when you're at your leanest. That's my joking advice to everybody.
I
Don't go
love
shopping.
that.
I think like the obvious one is like find a good coach. You put so much effort into it and it's so emotional and everything like that, that it's worth it to have somebody to guide you through. I heard a really good analysis on someone I was listening to the other day saying that they're kind of like your Sherpa. They're not going to carry your bags for you, but they're going to guide you. So I think you need somebody, and especially since you can't see the forest through the trees when you get deep into prep. And then if you have a good coach, you can tune out everybody else because everybody else will have an opinion about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. You look like this, you don't look like that. Just trust your coach and enjoy the process, enjoy the suck, enjoy the struggle, and definitely try and make friends. Like I said, like they've been invaluable. I have so many friends from competing. Like I said, I have my two best friends, and I would not have met them if I hadn't been open to the experience at the shows and trying to connect with people. The world is so small with social media, so try to connect with fellow competitors. They could be definitely lifelong friends.
Agreed. And what about for people who are on their road to pro?
Don't live and die by the show. You do put everything into it, but just because you didn't place how you wanted to this one show doesn't mean, and even a couple weeks from now, you can't do better. So don't invest yourself just in, well, I didn't do as well and I'm just going to, binge eat, fall off the season, go right into off season, whatever it is. Like, don't live and die. Like it was just one show. You can change a lot in even just a few weeks. So, keep up with it. And I would say definitely utilize your off season. And that's where you can kind of get those rituals and those habits so that when you start prep, that you're not so overwhelmed and you're not changing your entire life. So find your massage therapist, do your vacuums, all that kind of extra little stuff that you probably put off because you're just so tired during prep. Like, take care of all that stuff. Do all your mobility stuff. Like, those little things like really do add up. Good sleep hygiene, all that. So that when you're in prep, you've got all your bases covered. You can you don't have to think about recovery because it's just a habit for you. And then you can spend the extra time doing what needs to get done. So it makes it more like a lifestyle for you. Whether you want to if you want to keep going as a pro, you're going to need that. You're going to have to find balance. If it's just a bucket list to turn pro, well, okay. So what does your life look like after you turn pro? You're probably still going to want to work out and, do all that kind of stuff. So you should still have good habits.
That's a really great point. I love that question. What does your life look like after you turn pro? I think getting clear on that exceeds your upper limit, so you have something to strive for too. And the point about having habits in improvement season, so it doesn't feel like a huge transition when you prep. Such a great point. Just great advice all around. So can you let everybody know how they can follow your journey, connect with you, maybe even work with you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm most active on Instagram as Banana Split Squats. You can definitely DM me there, or you can go to my website, bananasplitsquats.com, and I have a contact page there. So I try to have all my services there. But even if you just have like questions or anything like that, like I'm just, happy to help people, help you like, navigate your journey, or if you have any like questions or anything like that, even if it's like, I travel a lot, like I said. So if you like need help, like how to structure yourself for that, like, I'm happy to meet people, to see people, to help you, whatever they need. I do lots of virtual classes and consultations as well. So just reach out to me and we'll go from there.
Awesome. That's super amazing. I am excited for everybody to listen to this. And if you guys love this episode, of course, tag us as you listen. Let us know what your main takeaways were. All of those links that were just mentioned, all the resources are going to be at celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening to this podcast right away, it'll be at the top of the page. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the category section, which is alphabetized, and you'll be able to find not just the resources, but also a full breakdown of the episode with a summary, a list of the topics covered, episode timestamps, and then again, any of the links so you can connect with us moving forward. We always appreciate that. It goes a long way. And all of you listening, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.